Awakening the Third Eye. Chapter number 13. Night Practice 1. Theoretical Aspects. Dormiens Vigila. While asleep, stay awake. In that which is night to all beings, the enlightened one is awake. That in which all beings are awake is night to the enlightened one. Bhagavad Gita plus T 2.69. Night practice is a set of techniques designed to induce a state of psychic sleep and to use your nights for the purpose of self-transformation. When performed during the day, night practice is a quick and sure way to recover from stress and fatigue. Higher stages of night practice deal with conscious astral traveling, for which a few preparatory techniques are suggested in the next chapter. Critical times. Where do you go after you die? According to the Tibetan and Hindu sciences of dying, the moment of death is critical, for it determines the conditions of your journey after life. Like attracts like. A resonance is said to take place between the contents of your mind at the very moment of death and the place to which you will be attracted. A verse of the Bhagavad Gita plus T puts it in these terms. Whatever object state someone thinks of at the final moment of leaving their body, that and that alone they attain. 8.6. There is a story from the Buddhist tradition of a man who had led a very virtuous life. As he lay dying, his nephew sat by his bedside, pretending to grieve, but secretly coveting the inheritance. The man got very angry when he saw that his nephew's grief was fake. The dying can easily read the minds of those around them, for they are already half in the astral. His anger was enough to propel him straight into a burning hell, where he had to spend some time before his next human incarnation. Because the moment of death is so critical, many esoteric schools, Western and Eastern, have developed precise methods for leaving the body the right way so one can find one's proper direction in the non-physical worlds. Let us now look at a daily experience which is no different from the adventure of death. Where do you go after you fall asleep? A whole range of planes of consciousness are open to you. Some are light and refreshing, others are more likely to induce terrible nightmares. As far as fatigue recovery and spiritual development are concerned, the value of your sleep depends on the quality of the planes that your astral body visits during the night. If you wander into the wrong places, you may well wake up more tired than when you fell asleep, or even sick. What determines which planes you visit during your sleep? Once more, your state of mind when crossing the threshold is essential. At the gate of sleep, as at the gate of death, a resonance takes place. The quality of your consciousness at the very moment of falling asleep plays an essential role in determining where you will journey during the night. Hence the inestimable value of a time of pure and coherent awareness just before falling asleep, which will allow your astral body to be drawn towards the right place during the journey. Many valuable side effects will result, such as greater energy during the day, better resistance to disease, increased memory and enhanced creativity. You would never treat the moment of your death lightly. The parallel between the two experiences is such that the moment of falling asleep should be treated with the same importance. Initiatory death and the mystery of the threshold. Several traditions have emphasized the analogy between death and initiation. Even without any occult knowledge, you can convince yourself of this correspondence just by observing a dying person. There may have been traumas and suffering beforehand, yet when the moment of death approaches, the person starts to radiate a great serenity. If he has not been sedated with too many drugs, you can clearly sense that an opening takes place. From an esoteric point of view, the connection between death and initiation is obvious. The initiate is the one who can, while alive, become aware of those planes visited by the dead. The initiate can see the non-physical planes and travel through them, even though he is still incarnated in a physical body. The non-initiate, on the other hand, will have to wait until death to discover what is on the other side. Moreover, when certain clicks occur on the path of initiation, you realize that you are accomplishing at that very moment work that will be completed by others only at the time of their death. And your subtle vision is suddenly boosted. It is like an explosion. You know that when the time comes for you to die physically, a great deal of the work will already have been done. There is nothing grim about this aspect of the initiation process. Think of the serenity and opening of the dying person. Once you start crossing the thresholds of initiation, a bit of this serenity remains with you, always. Even if you are caught in the agitation of the world, the soft feeling remains in the background. And because you are both dead and alive at the same time, you can start to live for good. The spirit is the source of magnificent paradoxes. Having gone through a death-like process, you become much more alive. Before, you were animated and nothing more. Now you are alive. It is so simple that it becomes extraordinary. In a quest for initiation, there is always a search for the threshold, the gate that opens your vision to the non-physical worlds. But to the clairvoyant eye, it appears that it is not only at the time of death that the gateway is crossed. Every day, all human beings pass by, missing what the Western tradition has called the guardian of the threshold. It happens at least twice a day, 4 times, if you have an app. Each time you fall asleep, and each time you wake up. But the tragedy is, the guardian of the threshold remains unnoticed. It is common to fall asleep and fall awake as fast as slipping on ice. You are walking, and suddenly before you know it you find yourself on the ground. It happens so quickly that you have absolutely no idea what took place in the meantime, nor how it took place. This means that twice, or even 4 times every day, a fantastic opportunity for self-development is lost. Thresholds are always essential. The day is yang, the night is yin, and what is twilight? Twilight is a time when pairs of opposites can be transcended. That is why so many sages and enlightened people will tell you that they had their first flash of illumination at twilight. The right side of the body is the male, solar side. The left side is the female, lunar side. And what about the middle line? It is the seat of the serpent fire of the Western tradition, symbolized by Hermes's caduceus. This corresponds to the Sukha Men Plus of Kundalini Yoga, the central channel in which the force moves. Now, what happens when this central channel opens? You are neither solar nor lunar, neither male nor female, neither inside nor outside. You transcend the duality of manifestation, and you get in touch with your eternal self. We could go on investigating several similar pairs of opposite values and find that each time, something critical takes place at the borderline between the two. One of the purposes of night practice is to explore the dividing line between waking and sleeping. Cultivate an interest in this threshold, wonder at it. Wonder is a great spiritual quality, one never practices it enough. It should become a gentle obsession each time you are going to sleep. What am I going to get out of crossing the threshold this time? The full experience of the threshold is one of superconsciousness, but as discussed before, it is usually missed because you are too quick. So the tactic of night practice is to induce a slow transition from waking to sleeping via a gradually increasing relaxation. You reach a stage in which you are neither awake nor asleep, or rather both at the same time, and aware. There you can pursue your quest for the guardian of the threshold. Sleep and subtle bodies. To understand our topic fully, we need to go through a few basic points regarding subtle bodies. A human being can be regarded as made of 4 parts. Number 1, a physical body, PB. Number 2, an etheric body, ebb, or layer of life force. This life force is identical to what is called PR Georgia in Sanskrit, Kai in Chinese. The etheric body is the same as the PR Georgia Maya Koa, or envelope made of pure Georgia of the Indian tradition. In terms of inner experience, there is a simple reference. Whenever you feel a vibration or a tingling, something has been activated in your etheric body. Number 3. An astral body, AB, or layer of mental consciousness. Whenever you think or experience emotions, something is taking place in your astral body. Number 4. An ego, or higher self. The astral body, AB, and the ego are linked, forming an upper complex. The physical body, PB, and the etheric body, EB, are linked too, forming a lower complex. Unless you are an initiate, the physical and etheric bodies never fully separate, as long as you are alive. The upper complex, AB plus ego, is the seat of your consciousness. While you are awake, this upper complex penetrates the lower one, PB plus EB, a bit like a hand enters a glove. In other words, your consciousness colonizes the physical world through the physical and etheric bodies. When you fall asleep, the upper complex, AB plus ego, becomes disinterested in the lower one, PB plus EB. It withdraws from it. Seen from outside, you lose consciousness, meaning you fall asleep. But in reality, your consciousness is not lost, it is just somewhere else. Instead of colonizing the physical world, the upper complex, AB plus ego, wanders in different astral worlds, or sometimes in the higher realms of the spirit. A vast range of planes can be experienced, some beautiful and regenerating, some gray and dull, some really noxious. It depends a great deal on the quality of consciousness in which you cross the threshold. If you fall asleep drunk, after eating sausages and watching horror videos, for instance, your sleep may not be too refreshing or enlightening, because you are likely to be attracted to unclear areas of the astral sphere. It is part of the process of transformation to find those evening activities and foods that allow you to be directed towards higher realms at night. Around the time of waking up, you become interested in the physical world again, and the upper complex, AB plus ego, reintegrates into the lower one, PB plus EB. The hand goes back into the glove. And that is another critical time, for if the reconnection does not take place properly, you are very likely to be in a bad mood all day. You can probably recall certain days when everything seemed to go wrong, and when you wished you had not woken up till the following morning. To a certain extent, this can be avoided by a proper management of the moment of waking up. Just as falling asleep is an art, waking up is too. What happens at the time of death, in terms of subtle bodies? The upper complex, AB plus ego, departs for good. The physical and etheric bodies are left to disintegrate. So we find another parallel between death and sleep. In terms of subtle bodies, sleep is a transient separation of the astral body and ego from the physical and etheric, while death is a permanent one. Angels and the chiseling of the organs of clairvoyance. In order to gain a direct vision of the spiritual worlds, some new organs have to be built. It is obvious that to be able to perceive the physical world, we need physical sensory organs and nerves. In the same way, but on another level, some astral structures are needed to perceive non-physical worlds. One of the reasons why most human beings are presently blind to anything other than the physical reality is that these organs of clairvoyance are lacking. They have to be built for vision to open. During the day, the astral body is too busy operating inside the physical body for the building up of the new organs to take place. Our mental consciousness, and therefore our astral body, is directed towards the physical world. The astral body gets saturated with the physical perceptions it receives from the senses via the brain. It is therefore during the night, when the astral body withdraws into a life of its own, that the new instruments of perception can be chiseled. Now, who chisels? This is a key question. If you can answer it, not intellectually, but through direct experience, a good part of the work is done. As the process of initiation unfolds, you realize that the carving of the astral organs of clairvoyance requires the collaboration of non-physical guides and higher spiritual beings, such as different categories of angels. These beings express themselves creatively in us, planting new seeds and forming new structures. They are trying their best to help. But the problem is that it is not always possible for them to approach us. This tragedy is quite common. There are many people who seem to be desperate for spiritual progress. They go on crying, "I wish God could help me, if only God could help me," and if you look just above them, what can you see? Guides and angels who keep on whispering, "Please tune into us, please receive our light." Instead of lamenting, if these people could tune in, they would immediately receive a shower of spiritual gifts. What are the conditions that allow these higher beings to conduct their creative chiseling work on us? First, perception, of course. If you can perceive the angel's action, then just by tuning into their energy consciously you will greatly facilitate the process. Apart from this, it is valuable to cultivate a certain aspiration, to pray for their help. Guides and angels have a certain code of ethics. They have a great respect for the free will of human beings. It is therefore much easier for them to help if you ask them first. Now be careful, because mental prayers usually don't reach very far in heaven. In fact, the less mental your prayers are, and the more they are accompanied by true perception, the better they work. Apart from your receptivity, some other factors play a part. Angels live in very pure spheres, and some physical environments are simply not fit for them to connect with. If the place is too dirty or messy, if the vibrations are too heavy, if there have been people drinking alcohol or fighting, or if the place is full of the smell of tobacco, then to the angel it is a suffocating space. The angel cannot approach or connect with you. Have a good look at your room and ask yourself, would an angel come down here? And then take measures to improve the situation. This approach makes cleaning much more interesting. There is an art of weaving good vibrations in a room that greatly facilitates the connection with higher spheres. Even more important than your environment is yourself. If your vibrations are not right, or if you are too agitated, the angels cannot do their work. All the thoughts, words, and actions of the day weave a web of vibrations inside you, which determines to a great extent how deep the light of the angel can penetrate. But once more, the moment of falling asleep is critical. It can have an even greater influence than all the activities of the day, just as in the story of the virtuous man who became angry at the moment of leaving his body. So, we come to another reason why a time of coherent consciousness before falling asleep can have very positive consequences. Through night practice you can leave your subtle bodies in a condition that allows higher spiritual beings to come and help. The practice indicated in the following chapter, phases 4 and 6, in particular, operates a rearrangement and a powerful withdrawal of the senses from their objects of perception. This creates an internalization of the astral senses, very favorable to their development during the night. Night practice and the etheric body. Let us now deal with the relationship between the etheric body, layer of life force or PR Georgia, and the astral body, layer of mental consciousness and emotions. Some people tend to imagine the etheric body as a 1 or 2 inch layer outside the limits of the physical body. Such a layer can actually be seen, but this picture is inaccurate. For the etheric is not only outside, but also inside the tissues of the physical body. Imagine a sponge, the physical body, permeated with water, the etheric body. The sponge has water inside it, and there is also a layer of water around it. Something similar can be observed with the astral body on another level. The astral body permeates the etheric body and extends beyond it. But the astral body does not always penetrate the etheric with the same intensity. Sometimes the hand is completely in the glove, sometimes it is only half inside. Or to take another example, imagine a mist, the astral body, and a valley, the etheric body. Sometimes the mist is condensed into the valley like a thick fog, that's when you are fully awake. Sometimes the mist is floating over the valley like a cloud, that's when you are sound asleep, dreaming and/or astral traveling. Several intermediate stages can be observed between these two extremes. Of course, this is nothing more than a metaphor and should not be taken too literally. What are the consequences for the etheric and physical bodies when the astral body comes closer or moves away? Let's look at the physical body first. The general action of the astral body is to make everything contract. Take a strong emotion, such as anger or fear. A disorganized wave arises in the astral body, and you start to feel angry or anxious. Immediately a chain reaction of tension is generated in the physical body. Your eyelids contract, there is tension in your solar plexus, and in your abdominal muscles, your heart starts to beat, meaning to contract, more quickly, and so on. The more the astral body grasps the physical body, the more the physical body gets contracted and cramped. On the other hand, what happens to the physical body when the astral body withdraws, as during sleep or deep states of relaxation? The physical body relaxes, it lets go of tension. Now, how does the etheric body react when the astral body moves in or out of the lower complex, PB plus ebb? When the astral body is more impacted into the lower complex, and therefore into the etheric body, a contraction process takes place on the etheric level as well as on the physical. The etheric body becomes compacted, compressed, denser, more opaque and closed to external influences. On the other hand, when the astral body withdraws from the lower complex, and therefore from the etheric body, the opposite can be observed. The etheric body expands. It becomes more spread, sparse and open. This is more than a simple relaxation, for etheric matter is far from being as inflexible as physical matter. It is much more malleable and fluid. Therefore, it is a real dilation, a swelling of the etheric body, that takes place when the astral body moves away from it. The etheric body does not feel as dense. You can feel the limits of your own energy extending much further away than when the astral body is closely impacted. So altogether, the etheric body is sometimes closed and compacted, sometimes dilated and more permeable, depending on whether the astral body is near or far from it. In chapters 18 and 20 we will see how a conscious mastery of this balance can be used to protect your energies. There is a certain way of being fully present that impacts the astral body into the etheric, shielding the latter against negative influences. It gives the feeling that the aura is closed and impermeable. But no living structure can flourish if it remains contracted all the time. To maintain the health of the etheric, there have to be times when it can completely relax and expand. The more the grasp of the astral body is released, the more the etheric body is set free. The stress of modern life tends to generate a cramped condition in which the astral body never really lets go of its grip on the etheric. In the long run, this creates a wearing out and an exhaustion of the etheric layer. Night practice allows you to reach a degree of etheric relaxation that is far superior to usual sleep. The perfect state of etheric relaxation is very similar to what a baby experiences naturally. Why does a baby sleep all the time? Because its astral body has hardly landed on the planet. The baby's astral body is floating above and only incarnates from time to time into the etheric. Therefore, the baby's etheric is completely open and in a state of absolute relaxation. This also means that you should take great care of your baby, for this openness makes it very vulnerable to its environment. The baby breathes through its skin all the influences of the world around it. Some parents take their baby to parties and consider that everything is fine because baby remains sound asleep, even in the middle of the noise and agitation. This is a big mistake. The disorganized vibrations of the environment flow into the child and create far greater disturbance than the parents realize. Through night practice you learn to achieve the baby's climax of relaxation, not only of the physical, but also of the etheric body. The etheric can be given a time of complete opening and expansion. That is why night practice may allow you to recover much more quickly than an ordinary siesta. A lifestyle that never allows a full opening and expansion of the etheric body, as is the case for most people at the moment, generates accelerated aging processes and exhaustion. However, the opening also implies that certain precautions should be taken during your night practice. It would not be appropriate, for instance, to go into a state of deep relaxation in the hall of a busy railway station. Your etheric body would be likely to catch all sorts of negative energies, and it might take you a few weeks of clearing, if not more, before you get rid of them. During night practice, your etheric body opens significantly more than during meditation. Meditation is practiced in a sitting position, and due to the fact that it operates through the waking state, much more control is retained over the physical and etheric bodies. It is possible, even though not necessarily recommended, to meditate in the middle of a crowd because several mechanisms of defense are maintained. But it would be absurd to try to do a night practice in the middle of a crowd, just as it is crazy to take a baby to a demonstration. Even during a nap or during the most unconscious sleep, your etheric remains much more closed and impermeable than during night practice. From this we can deduce a few recommendations concerning night practice. Their logic is simple. When your etheric body is open, you should be in a quiet, clean and protected etheric environment. Let us review a few of the factors of etheric pollution. It is not advisable to implement night practice on an earth line. The lines make a grid of densified etheric energy that proves toxic for the human etheric body. Your etheric is more open during normal night sleep than while you are awake, therefore earth lines are more toxic during sleep than during the day. The etheric is even more open during night practice, so make sure you don't use the technique on a line. Study Chapter 12 and dose your bedroom. Avoid beds made of or containing iron, spring mattresses, etc. Iron tends to amplify any factor of electromagnetic pollution. For the same reason, avoid electrical wiring and electronic equipment in the vicinity of your bed. Electric blankets should be discarded, even if they are not switched on. Before sleeping on a water bed, consider that there is nothing better than a mass of running or stagnant water to attract entities of all kinds. Modern technology sometimes leads to energetic disasters. A fridge can be quite toxic for your etheric if you practice less than about 5 meters from it. I suggest that you do the following experiment. Place a mattress in your kitchen, say 1 or 2 meters from the fridge, and do a night practice. Fridges remain dormant for some time, and then their electrical apparatus is activated, that is when they start making a noise. At the very moment the fridge starts making a noise, if you are in a state of etheric relaxation, you will feel a kind of lash in your etheric body. You can't miss it, a sudden, painful discharge, extremely tangible, and often accompanied by the perception of a flash of color. Try it. It won't hurt you if you only do it a few times. This will allow you to meditate on the connections between the etheric layer and the electromagnetic force. The two are certainly not identical. The electromagnetic field belongs to the physical sphere, and the etheric is beyond the physical sphere. Yet there are direct bridges connecting the two, as shown by this experiment. A similar experience can occur when sleeping in a building full of iron, such as a skyscraper, with central heating. From time to time a discharge of static electricity goes through the heaters, often accompanied by an abrupt little sound. At that moment, if you are doing night practice, you feel exactly the same type of lash in your etheric body. It is not advisable to implement night practice while lying too close to somebody, or to an animal, or even to plants. The reason is obvious: your etheric body starts to expand. If it meets the resistance of another living being's etheric, the expansion process will simply stop. And your etheric will start to retract again, due to a mechanism of self-protection. Your night practice will remain superficial, you won't be able to dive deep into a hyper-relaxed state. If you were to insist and force the opening, you could pick up unwanted negative energies from the other person and have your own quintessence of life force drawn out. Once more, it should be remembered that during night practice your etheric body becomes significantly more dilated and open than during normal sleep. So even if you live with someone, share a bed and have sex with him or her, it is preferable to keep some distance while doing night practice. It does not make any difference whether the other one is practicing with you or not. In practice, how far apart should you stay? A distance of 1.5 meters, 5 feet, is fine. So if you share a bed, the advice is, leave it during the practice and come back once you've finished. This will also diminish your chances of falling asleep in the middle. I suggest that during the practice you try to sense how far your etheric expands and discover for yourself, as always, what the right distance should be. However, you will see that the presence of somebody else practicing with you in the room, provided there is sufficient space between the two, is rather supportive. The combined astral energies of the two people help overcome the dullness of unconsciousness and make it easier to maintain some awareness during sleep. Astral traveling is significantly facilitated. It could be that in the coming decades a new form of socializing will appear. Night practice and awareness in the eye. There is one common feature to all the techniques in this book: maintaining awareness between the eyebrows. Whether you are meditating, seeing auras or dosing earth lines, you always keep a focus in the third eye. But there is one exception to this rule: night practice. It is not advisable to switch on the vibration in the eye while practicing the techniques of psychic sleep. And there are a few simple reasons for this. While practicing channel release, you may have noticed that, when awakening the vibration in the hands, a stimulation of the energy automatically takes place, both in the eye and all over the body. This has a grounding effect. If you are feeling somewhat sleepy or floating, it re-anchors you inside your physical body and wakes you up. What creates this, in terms of subtle bodies? The type of strong vibration generated in your eye by rubbing your hands pulls the astral body into the etheric. This movement of the astral body is similar to what happens when you wake up. You become more awake, and you can feel the life force flowing all over your body. Now, to a certain extent, a similar movement takes place each time you awaken a strong vibration in your eye. Even if you do not rub the hands, the astral is drawn into the etheric. Of course, if the purpose is to sleep, you want just the opposite. You want the astral body to move away from the etheric and physical bodies. And you want the etheric and physical bodies to become very quiet, not vibrating all over. So quite logically, you should not try to stimulate the vibration in the eye during night practice. If you were to do so, you might get agitated and find it difficult to fall asleep. This is a common reason why some people who follow a path of meditation go through periods during which they can't fall asleep at night. They may not realize it, but they unconsciously foster the vibration in their third eye. It is like a clenching of the eye. And, due to the above-mentioned mechanisms, they are kept awake. You can notably improve these people's sleep by helping them become aware of what takes place and getting them to release the vibration in the eye. A good method is to focus on the heart. A well-known Sanskrit text, the Bihad-Arajayaka Upaniket, explains that to fall asleep there has to be a withdrawal of the PR gas, etheric energies, and the senses into the heart. A gentle awareness, no concentration, in the heart center, behind the middle of the chest, will favor the right gathering of the energies, thereby inducing sleep. Third eye flaring, a possible experience. If you follow a systematic training to build your subtle bodies, it may happen that you go through a phase when a strong vibration is automatically and permanently switched on in your third eye, day and night. You are not even clenching unconsciously, it just happens as a natural part of the process, and it often has to do with the guides pouring energy into your structure. You feel your eye quite intensely, there is a lot of vibration, and there can also be a lot of light too. Sometimes there is so much inner light that it feels like the middle of the day, even though you are lying down in a dark room in the deepest part of the night. It may well be that you can't fall asleep because the vibration in the eye is too intense. Another common symptom is that you need to get up a few times to pass urine, as a consequence of the discharge of astral energies into your physical body. If you are in this situation, you can always try to focus gently on your heart. It will help. But basically there is not much you can do, the process has to follow its course. So if it happens to you, don't worry, and be patient. You have to accept that you are not going to fall asleep early for some time. Enjoy the light. Anyhow, you will often find that you are not tired the following morning, even if you had little normal sleep. For even though you are fully awake, you are halfway to a form of psychic sleep, and the body can recover to a certain extent. Moreover, there is often a natural amphetamine-like effect that takes place, without any drug of course, at the same time, which gives you a lot of extra energy. The process stops by itself after some time. How long does such a phase of awakening last? A few days, or a few weeks, sometimes, but rarely, as long as a few months. See the positive side of it, strong forces are implanted in your eye. The more intense this phase, the more powerful the vision that will follow. But note that this phase of enlightened insomnia is certainly not compulsory. Many people go through their complete development without ever meeting it. It may or may not happen, depending on your own internal organization. Night practice and awareness in the eye too. From what has been said so far, it should not be understood that any awareness in the third eye tends to impact the astral body into the physical and the etheric, thereby preventing sleep. It is only when there is a vibration between the eyebrows that this happens, not when you feel the purple space. Remember what was described in relation to the first technique of meditation. When vibration, tingling or pressure is felt between the eyebrows, it indicates that the etheric part of the eye is activated. In terms of subtle bodies, a strong vibration between the eyebrows indicates that the astral body gets more impacted into the etheric part of the eye and into the etheric body in general. However, when you get into the perception of the purple space, the astral body is orientated towards astral worlds, not towards the etheric and physical bodies. For the purple space is nothing other than a layer of the astral spaces. The problem is that in the beginning, when you go into your eye, you find it difficult to dissociate the vibration from the light and the space. You get a bit of everything, vibration, light and space, all at the same time. So in night practice it is better to avoid the eye altogether, because the intensification of the vibration would be opposed to the natural direction of sleep. But when you are more advanced and able to bring the space in the eye at will, without any vibration, there is no reason why you shouldn't be in the eye during night practice. Allow enough normal sleep. When some people hear about techniques of deep relaxation, Psychic sleep and others along the same lines, they sometimes design a strange arithmetic. They hear that 1 hour of psychic sleep can help them to recover as much as 3 or 4 hours of normal sleep. Then they think, 1 hour of psychic sleep equals 4 hours of normal sleep. Therefore I'll have 3 hours of psychic sleep every night, and that will do. What a lot of time I'll save. These calculations are based on a misunderstanding. The people who think that sleep is a waste of time are completely missing all the astral events that normally take place in the course of a night. First, you would need to become a grand master of psychic sleep before your body could recover enough with only 3 or 4 hours per night. But even if that were the case, you would still benefit from all the experiences of maturation and traveling that occur during the night. The desire to reduce the amount of sleep comes from a very materialistic perspective and does not correspond to the reality of the process of transformation. Night practice should be understood as a way to make your sleep more efficient and enlightening, not to replace it. A reasonable duration of night practice is between 30 and 60 minutes before going to sleep, plus 1 or more sessions during the day if you wish. But in order to allow the process of transformation and the building of your subtle bodies to follow their course, keep your normal hours of sleep every night. This is the end of chapter 13 of Awakening the Third Eye by Samuel Sagan, MD. Break time equals 2000 milliseconds. Please listen to this recording minimum 3 times for better and long-term results. If you like this recording, please comment and share it with your friends and loved ones. Stay tuned for listening more books like this. Thank you and good luck.